Welcome to the Sweet Home Recap. On one sunny day, Hyun-Soo, a shy, depressed loner, moves into a new apartment. Greeted by a not-so-friendly security guard, the first ledge Hyun-Soo spots, he fights against his life, whether or not to ravel in his own pain. He spots a ballet dancer, Yi-Kyung, stopping to remove gum from her shoe. She advises him not to commit suicide, as it would be annoying for the residents of Green Home to clean up. He returns to his room, greeted by the security guard with a bleeding nose. An eerie feeling brushes by as he gives him a bottle for his rude behavior prior. He plays video games to pass the time, hearing of the lady upstairs complaining about being hungry and having a bleeding nose. Odd coincidences start to align as the gamer replies with him also having a bleeding nose. As time passes, Hyun-Soo wakes up to receive his ramen, finding it ripped apart and remnants on the floor scattered. Hearing weird noises and a hand reaching out for a cat's head, rushing back into his room, and just then he hears a ring at the door. The lady from upstairs asks for help. In an instant, her attitude changes erratically and she walks off. Hearing loud music upstairs, he rushes out the door with a broken broomstick as a spear and runs into Pyun Sang-woo, a gangster that frightens him. Amidst all the blood he is doused in, he passes out. Upstairs, a bass player, Yoon Ji-soo, is interrupted by a knock at the door, more like a punch. Immediately, she apologizes, but it doesn't work. Noticing the lady's disfiguration, Ji-soo quickly grabs a bat for her protection. But just then, like Hyun-Soo, she walks off, later noticing her blood trail, leading them to suspect that she jumped out the window. In Yu's apartment, she lives with Lee Eun-hyuk, her older brother, reminding her to not only consume ramen as he heads off to work. Getting to ground floor, he is met by numerous of the residents as they notice that the front gate shutter is down, briefly interrupted by Yi-Kyung to inquire on his cell service, but it is off too. She informs him that all the doors have been locked, suspecting that it might be an inside job, as the security guard is gone. They break through a lock to access the security room. Busy with outgoing calls, the landline can't reach the police or any help. Finding the opening to the shutters, they spot a tall, bloody figure, just as old man Kim Seo-kyun opens the gate. The tongue monster cracks the glass, entering from the vacant shutter, instantly piercing a person and draining the blood from their body. Hyuk screams for Seo-kyun to close the shutter upon his request. Blasting the tongue monster with a fire extinguisher, he manages to push it out. With the gas running low, firefighter Kyung tackles it out the compound, puncturing her leg in the process. As they merely make it back inside, outside the compound, various monsters have sprung up. In Hyun-Soo's apartment, he finds that the world has gone ablaze as he starts to leak blood from his nose too. Waking up from the nosebleed, he is safeguarded by Ji-soo. Leaving the apartment simultaneously, people on ground floor receive emergency alerts of the spreading infection and immediate concern for bite marks to quarantine. In the stairwell, Sang-wook helps Eun-yu from the lady that jumped out the window and receives a bite mark for this, and they return to their rooms. Ji-soo ventures around the complex, saved by Jung Jae-hyun, an English teacher. However, revealing that the creature is still alive, it wakes up. They travel across the complex, running into Choi Yoon-jae and unraveling him. Meanwhile, Hyun-Soo travels out with a new spear shock weapon to try and save the kids. He shots himself out while turning into a monster with dual personalities. The monster inside asks for him to accept him for help. While he turns back, Yi-Kyung goes to turn back on the electricity. They reunite inside room 1408 with the disabled war veteran. Downstairs with electricity, Seok-hyun locks out the residents from his supermarket. At the same time, Yoon-jae arrives at ground floor, opening his suitcase to share his snacks with gracious people thanking him for it. Sun Hyo-in notices blood inside the suitcase, leading her to deny his offer. At the same time, Cha Jin-ok sneakily opens the gate to try and receive her daughter, where she trips and falls. Park Chan-young runs out to try and help her, as he is entrapped and stabbed by the tongue monster as it drains the blood out of Min-ju. Jin-ok blames In-hyuk for her daughter and Chan's death. Hyun-soo, Ji-soo, and Jae-hyun head to the first floor after hearing its safety in the intercoms, when announcements revealed that the variations of monsters coincide with their different individualistic ideals. Downstairs, Yi-Kyung runs from a spider monster, barely escaping, punching In-hyuk for telling her to go down to turn on the electricity, knowing there was a monster. On their way down, Hyun-Soo is hit with a flash of light and is knocked to the first floor, met by Eun-Yo. Waking up, he is warned to quarantine as they fear that he has become a monster. They decide to vote in an anonymous ballot to exile him or not. It is a draw. Led by Seok-hyun, he tries to force them to kick him out when his nose starts to bleed. Hyun-Soo agrees to quarantine if Seok-hyun joins him. Yoon-jae runs into Sang-wook. He starts beating him and steals his keys. Rushing towards passerbys, he admits that he is transforming into a monster and that they need to lock him up. Forcing his way into the room, he creepily offers Hyun-Soo food and questions how it is to feel as powerful as a monster. In room 1408, Lim transforms into an egg. Yeon-hook allows Hyun-Soo to leave, only when he can help them. They are using him as a warrior in the golden hour period, where he is still human but has abilities like the monsters. He heads upstairs with Sang-wook. They run into the speed monster once again, and a long hand monster, saved by Park Yuri and An Jil-seok. They wake up in their room and go gather the people in 1408, leaving the egg behind. Sang-wook searches through Yoon-jae's room, finding evidence of him kidnapping and sexually assaulting young girls. Downstairs, the people let Yoon-jae out. Arming himself with a mallet, he swings at Sang-wook, but he enacts revenge and beats him unconscious, opening the gate and dragging his limp body outside. He faints when he tries to close the gate, after he had retrieved Min-ju and Chan-young's bodies. They hold a funeral ceremony for them. Yi-Kyung finds out she is actually pregnant. Sang-wook wakes up. Jae-hyun hands back his phone. He doesn't support his actions, but understands them. He is now the owner of the supermarket. As their captive, Hyun-Soo is made to venture around the complex, gathering items for them until he turns. He returns exactly when they've finished off Seok-hyun for turning into a monster, warned by his alter ego that he will be next. Yi-Kyung is ousted for not contributing to the team. She drives to her husband's lab, where he was experimenting on the monsterization curse, and is captured by the military, questioning her on what she knows to keep herself alive. She reveals that she knows a person that is willfully surviving the monsterization. At the complex, Hyun-Soo is captured by the spider monster. When the group get down to dismount him, they encounter the speed monster. Upstairs, the monster has escaped and captures Soo-young. They escape the speed monster by distracting it with cars, and Jil-seok burns it. Upstairs, the crew help Han and Young escape the spider. Hyun-Soo delivers the finishing blow, limping back to his prison cell. However helpful Hyun-Soo is, he is still the outcast of the group. Yi-Kyung is released and given a communication device that can alert them to her location, reminding her that special infectees are the humans that can survive past 15 days. None except one has done as such, and that one has escaped. As food and water start to deplete, they only have 5 days left of resources. Using a car modified by Han, they need to gather supplies. On the trip is Hyun-Soo, Sang-wook, and Yuri. Driving out the lot, their car is immediately flipped. Outside, Yi-Kyung saves the injured group with a fire truck, ramming the steroid monster into the pit, piling on a burning container. Sang-wook turns over a new leaf, rescuing the injured Yuri. As they all return inside, Yi-Kyung starts to question Yeon-hook on Hyun-Soo's symptoms, even revealing to him that she was captured by soldiers, and that she had to tell them about him so she could survive, warning him about the 15-day period, and it is the worst for monsterization. An Si-young admonishes the fact that she has symptoms of monsterization, and they lock her up for it. This is when they are attacked by a fleeing soldier. They try to question him when hell breaks loose, and Hyun-Soo is too late to stop the security guard, resulting in Jae-hyun sacrificing his life to destroy the monsterized security guard. An armored vehicle rams into their front gate, and they get out to execute the deserter, rounding up most of the residents and killing some as a deterrent. They notice that they are just criminals that killed a squadron of military and stole their gear. Fearing monsters, they kill Seon-yang. Yi-Kyung assassinates some, while Sang-wook does the same. Yuri gets her first kill on a guy who tries to sexually assault her. They drag Hyun-Soo to the roof to test different methods of killing him. When Don Kim, his bully from high school, kills the ringleader and his companions. He was in their tribe so he could survive, and also a special infectee. Downstairs, Yi-Kyung helps them finish off the remaining criminals. Flies drop from the sky. The military is willing to guarantee the safety of a person who reports a special infectee to them, and so they return down the elevator. Hyun-Soo convinces everyone to drop their guns. Yi-Kyung unveils what happened outside to Eun-hyuk, and Jae-hyun overhears this and eventually presses the button. Yuri passes out after her asthma inhaler stops working. As Sang-wook tries to carry her out to find new inhalers, Kim turns on them, shooting at them and at the residents. Sang-wook and Yuri die as a result. Hyun-Soo steps in and transforms an arm into burning spikes, melting him, but with this, his gloop abilities crawls away. When Hyun-Soo wakes up, he is forced to take on the military. Even as they escape through the tunnels, Yoon-hyuk stays behind, succumbing to his monsterization. Arriving outside the next day, they are taken in by the military and Yi-Kyung joins them as an ex-special forces to continue a new deal. Hyun-Soo is driven away in an armored truck, realizing that Sang-wook is actually Kim that has taken over his body. This is where the series ends. For another death-enthralled series, watch this.